Hey everyone, and welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into micro moments marketing today.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, should be interesting. We found this cool French blog post all about it.
Ah, very cool. I love the French perspective on marketing.
Yeah, me too. It's always interesting to see how other cultures approach things.
Definitely.
So whether you're like deep in the marketing world or just curious about, how companies are grabbing your attention online,
Right.
this deep dive is for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, micro moments, right?
Micro moments, yeah, they're all about those tiny little moments when you grab your phone,
Yeah.
and maybe you're looking something up real quick, or maybe you're trying to find a place to eat.
Or like just scrolling, killing time.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
just scrolling. And the thing is, brands are getting really good at using these little moments.
So are they kind of like predicting what we need before we even know it?
Yeah, in a way, I guess.
It's a little creepy.
It can be a little creepy, yeah,
Mm.
but it's definitely effective.
Okay, so how does this like micro moments magic actually work?
Well, the big thing is understanding the customer journey.
Okay.
So picture this.
Yeah.
You map out like all the steps someone takes, right? From the moment they first hear about a product
Yeah.
to the moment they actually buy it. Micro moments marketing, it's about finding those moments
Okay.
where the customer might have a question or, a need.
I see where you're going with this, but doesn't that need like a ton of data on our online habits?
Data is key. Yeah. Brands are using, all kinds of data points, everything from your browsing history
Wow.
to your location to what you're doing on social media.
So they don't just know that I'm searching for pizza delivery. They know I'm ordering pepperoni every Friday at 8 p.m.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about knowing those little patterns in your behavior and using them to make the messages
Oh, that's interesting.
feel super personalized and timely, and relevant.
So what are some things that brands need to do to get this right? Because it sounds like it's more than just like throwing up some ads on social media.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's way more strategic than that. First off, mobile first.
Okay.
Think about it. Most of these micro moments, they're happening on our phones.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't even remember the last time I looked something up on my computer. It's always my phone.
Right, exactly. So your website, it needs to load super fast.
Yeah.
The navigation has to be seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And the content, easy to read, especially on a small screen.
Okay, so mobile optimization is key.
Absolutely. But then there's speed.
Ah, right. Speed.
You've got to deliver that information or that solution in like seconds.
Seconds.
Yeah,
Wow.
because you're competing with a million other things,
Yeah.
for attention. So if your website is taking forever to load or your message is buried in a ton of text, you've lost them.
It's like that little split second of attention before they move on to something else.
Exactly. That means your message has to be crystal clear,
Yeah.
concise, no jargon, just pure value.
Okay, so to recap, we need to be mobile first, lightning fast, and like super focused on that value.
You got it.
That's a tall order. What happens if brands get it wrong? Any pitfalls to avoid?
Oh, definitely. One of the biggest ones is being too intrusive. Remember, you want to be helpful, not annoying, right? Bombarding someone with notifications or, those annoying ads that interrupt what you're doing.
I hate those.
Yeah, it's a surefire way to turn people off.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to read an article and a pop-up like takes over the screen.
I know, right?
Leave me alone. I'm trying to learn something.
Exactly. So it's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
being present, but being respectful too.
So it's not just about being there, it's about being there in the right way.
That's it.
Okay, what other mistakes do brands make?
Well, sometimes they focus too much on that single micro moment
Uh,
and forget the bigger picture. These micro moments, they should be part of a bigger plan,
okay.
a story almost, that builds up your brand.
So it's not about just winning that one interaction. It's about building like a relationship over time.
Exactly. You're thinking long term, using these micro moments to kind of guide them towards what they want.
Makes sense. All this talk about data and strategy is fascinating, but it would be cool to see like real world examples,
Oh, for sure.
The blog post mentioned a few brands that are doing this really well.
It does, yeah. And they really show how different micro moments marketing can be,
Okay.
and might even spark some ideas for how you could use it yourself.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into those examples. First up, Google.
Google, they're like the pioneers, They were some of the first to recognize those. I want to know, I want to go, I want to do. And those I want to buy moments
Right.
and figured out how brands could use them.
So they're like the architects of the whole concept.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But in practice, think about how you use Google, like every day.
Right.
Let's say you need a chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Cookies.
Right. So you type best chocolate chip cookie recipe
Yeah.
into Google, and bam, tons of options pop up.
Yeah.
Blog posts, videos, recipe websites. That's Google knowing you want to know something and giving you what you need.
Right when you need it.
Exactly.
And that's just one example.
Oh, yeah, tons of examples.
You're doing this for all sorts of different micro moments.
Absolutely. Directions, comparing prices, watching tutorials, you name it.
Wow.
Google's always there, working behind the scenes, figuring out what you need, and giving you the best results.
It's kind of like they have a sixth sense, you know?
Huh. Yeah, it can feel that way.
What other companies are like killing it in the micro moments game?
Uber's another great one. They totally changed how we get around, you know?
Oh, yeah. First,
They tapped into that I want to go moment.
it's crazy how fast they became like a part of everyday life.
I know, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
You're at a restaurant, it's late, you need to get home,
Yeah.
you open the Uber app, and boom, car's on the way.
Yeah.
You've got an estimated arrival time, you know how much it'll cost.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. They took all the hassle out of getting a ride.
It's like magic, but with cars.
Exactly.
Okay, so Google and Uber are rocking it. Who else?
Amazon, the kings of e-commerce.
Oh, Amazon. I feel like I'm constantly getting sucked into their recommendations.
Well, me too.
How are they using these micro moments?
One of the smartest things they do, and they kind of anticipate that moment when you're ready to buy something.
Okay.
And they make it super easy for you to actually do it.
I swear they read my mind sometimes. Like, I'll be thinking about a new book, and then boom, an ad for it pops up on my Facebook feed.
That's the power of data and personalization right there.
Yeah.
But the real genius is that buy now with one click button.
Oh, that button is dangerous, but I love it.
I know. It's so convenient, right?
Yeah.
They've basically eliminated the whole checkout process.
Makes impulse buying way too easy.
It really does.
And speaking of impulse buying, let's talk about Domino's Pizza.
Oh, yeah, Domino's. They know how to get you when you're like, I need pizza now.
Who hasn't been there at, like, midnight?
Seriously, right? Their zero-click ordering system is brilliant. You open the app,
Yeah.
and your usual order, it's just there, ready to go.
No clicking around, no scrolling through menus.
Nope, just peace and bliss,
They've turned ordering pizza into a reflex.
pretty much.
So we've got Google, Uber, Amazon, and Domino's. Any other inspiring examples from that French blog post?
Two more, actually.
Yeah.
Dark Sky, the hyper-local weather app,
Oh, yeah.
and Spotify, the music streaming giant.
Okay, let's start with Dark Sky. What makes them so good at this?
They got super popular with their, like, hyper-local weather notifications.
Mm-hmm.
They would alert you right before it was about to rain, like at your exact location.
It was like having your own personal weather forecaster.
It really was, right? And
Yeah.
super accurate.
I remember using it and being amazed by how accurate those notifications were.
It's a perfect example of using data and tech to give people what they need right when they need it.
Right.
They knew people don't always have time to check the forecast, so they brought the forecast to them.
That's so smart. Okay, and Spotify, how are they using micro moments?
Spotify's all about personalized music discovery, you know?
Right.
Their Discover Weekly playlists and those recommendations based on, like, what time it is or what you usually listen to.
So, like, you're feeling down, you open Spotify, and bam, a playlist of uplifting tunes.
Exactly. Or it's Friday afternoon and you're ready to unwind.
Yes.
Spotify knows and gives you some chill tracks for the weekend.
It's like having a DJ who knows your musical taste inside and out.
Haha, exactly. They're grabbing those moments when you're looking for new music and giving you something perfectly tailored.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, haven't we?
Just getting started.
Just scratching the surface.
There's so much more to uncover about micro moments marketing.
There really is.
Yeah.
And the best part is it's always evolving.
Oh, yeah.
As technology changes and, you know, how people behave online changes, there will be even more innovative ways to use those micro moments.
Ooh, that's exciting.
It is.
Well, we'll have to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more insights on this fascinating topic.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. So we've been talking about how brands are using these micro moments to, like, really grab your attention and even influence your choices.
Right?
And it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about all the data they're collecting and analyzing, you know?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if we can even escape all these marketing tactics.
Well, it's true that these micro moments are becoming more and more a part of our online lives,
Yeah.
you know? But I wouldn't say it's about escaping them.
Okay.
It's more about understanding how they work and using that knowledge
Right.
to make better choices.
So instead of feeling like manipulated,
Yeah,
we can actually take control.
exactly. Awareness is like the first step.
Mhm.
Once you understand how it all works,
Yeah.
you start to see those patterns in your own behavior.
Okay.
And then you can make more conscious decisions about how you interact with brands.
That's a good point. It's not about rejecting all marketing. It's about becoming smarter consumers?
Exactly. And it's important to remember that not all micro-moments marketing is the same.
Right.
Some brands, they use these tactics ethically,
Yeah.
but others, they might push things a little too far.
So how can we tell the difference? Like, are there any red flags we should be looking out for?
Well, one thing is, like, too much personalization.
Oh, okay.
It's cool to get recommendations that fit your interests,
Right.
but it gets kind of creepy when it feels like they know way too much about you.
Like when you mention something to a friend and then suddenly you're seeing ads for it everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's a sign that maybe they're using your data in a way that feels a little too intrusive.
So excessive personalization, that's one red flag. Anything else?
Watch out for manipulative language or design.
Okay.
Some brands, they use tricks to, like, nudge you towards doing something,
Right.
even if it's not really in your best interest.
Like those countdown timers that make you feel like you have to buy something right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or those limited time offers.
Oh, yeah.
They play on that fear of missing out.
So it's about recognizing those little psychological triggers and not letting them control our decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if a brand feels too pushy, just walk away.
Yeah, good point.
There are tons of other options out there.
Right.
You have the power to choose who you support.
That's a great reminder. We've been talking about micro moments from a consumer's perspective, but what about businesses?
Yeah.
How can they use these tactics ethically and, like, effectively?
I think the key is putting the customer first.
Okay.
It's about truly understanding their needs,
Mm-hmm.
anticipating what they want,
Mm.
and giving them value in a way that feels genuine.
So it's not just about pushing sales.
Yeah.
It's about building a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Micro moments are a chance to really connect with customers,
Okay.
to show them that you get them and that you care about their experience.
Well, when you do that, you're not just selling them a product, you're building loyalty.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think it would be helpful to go back to those real-world examples.
Yeah, good idea.
See how these principles are actually being used.
Those examples were really interesting.
Weren't they?
They showed just how different micro moments marketing can be.
Exactly. What's cool is that each company approaches it a bit differently,
Oh, okay.
depending on their industry, their target audience, and what they want to achieve overall.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Each brand has to figure out its own unique way to use these micro moments.
And that's where creativity comes in, right?
Absolutely. The brands that are really killing it, they're constantly experimenting, trying new things, finding those new ways to connect in those little moments.
It's like a constant challenge, but also a really cool opportunity.
Exactly. And as technology keeps changing
Right.
and how people behave online changes, we can expect even more innovative uses of micro moments.
I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me neither.
But for now, let's focus on the present and talk about how we can all become more aware of these micro moments in our own lives.
Yeah.
You mentioned awareness being the first step. So what can we do to be more mindful of how brands are targeting us?
Start paying attention to the ads you see online.
Okay.
Really look at the language, the images.
Mm-hmm.
What emotions are they trying to make you feel? Are they appealing to your fears, your desires?
I've never really thought about ads that way before. It's easy to just ignore them.
It is, yeah. But
Mhm.
when you start to really pay attention, you realize how much thought goes into them.
Yeah, that's true.
And once you see those patterns, you
Yeah.
can start asking questions.
Like what?
Why are they showing me this ad? What data are they using? What are they trying to tell me?
It's like becoming an ad detective.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at spotting the difference between, genuine value and those manipulative tactics.
So we can filter out the noise and focus on the brands that actually align with our values.
Precisely. It's about taking control
Okay.
and not letting yourself be controlled by algorithms and marketing strategies.
We have more power than we realize, right?
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's about being mindful, being critical, and being empowered.
That's a great point.
And that applies to, more than just marketing.
We're right.
It's relevant to our whole digital lives.
That's a powerful thought. Before we wrap things up, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The ethical side of micro moments marketing.
Oh, absolutely. That's so important. As brands get access to more and more data about us,
Yeah.
it's crucial that they use it responsibly, and be transparent about it.
It's easy to get caught up in all the cool new technology
Right.
and forget about, like, the human side of things.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance.
Right.
On the one hand, We want them to use data to personalize our experience,
Yeah,
make things easier,
right.
but we don't want our privacy invaded
Totally.
or feel like we're being manipulated.
So how do we find that balance? What can brands do to make sure they're being ethical?
Transparency is key.
Okay.
Customers need to know what data is being collected,
Mm-hmm.
how it's being used,
Right.
and what choices they have.
So transparency is a good starting point.
Definitely. And they have to be mindful of that potential for manipulation,
Right.
No psychological tricks or pressure tactics.
It's about respecting customers, right?
Exactly. And recognizing they have the right to make their own choices.
It sounds like ethical micromoments marketing is about finding that sweet spot
Yeah,
between personalization and privacy, convenience, and control.
you got it.
It's tough, but it's a chance to do business in a way that's both profitable and responsible.
Exactly. And I think the brands that prioritize those ethical considerations, they'll be the ones that win in the long run.
Well said. I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered so much,
We have.
from the basics of micromoments marketing to the ethical implications.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. I hope our listeners are walking away with a better understanding of all this.
Me too. And hopefully they'll be a bit more mindful of those micro moments in their own lives.
Exactly. And how brands are trying to, get their attention.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's about becoming more aware consumers and making those informed choices.
Well said. Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to check out the show notes for links to that French blog post and other resources we mentioned.
Yes. And follow us on social media for more on marketing and technology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of micromoments marketing.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.
We've talked a lot about how brands need to be ethical with all this, but what about us as, the people on the receiving end? How do you feel about all this data collection and targeted marketing stuff going on? Is it something you think about a lot, or do you kind of just accept it as part of being online these days?
That's a really good question. And honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. Some people are totally fine with sharing their data if it means getting those personalized experiences, but then others are way more concerned about their privacy and want to keep their info under wraps.
Yeah, I can see both sides. Like, it's pretty cool to get recommendations that actually seem like they're made just for me, but then sometimes it's kind of creepy to think about how much these companies know about what I do and what I like.
Totally. It's all about figuring out what works for you, finding that balance. Maybe you tweak your privacy settings, or you're more careful about the apps you use, or even just being more aware of like what data you're actually sharing.
So it's not about just like being a passive consumer, right? It's about taking control of your own like digital footprint and making sure it aligns with what you believe in.
Exactly. And I think that's pretty empowering. You actually have a lot more control of your data than you might think. And the more you learn about how these systems work, the better you can decide what's right for you.
Okay, so we've talked about the present and like the ethical stuff, but what about the future? Any predictions on how micro moments marketing might change in the years to come?
Well, one thing's for sure. Technology is not slowing down.
Mhm.
So we can definitely expect these marketing experiences to get even more sophisticated and personalized.
So even more targeted ads and recommendations. Honestly, I'm not sure if that's cool or a little scary.
Could be both, right? Imagine, like, your smart fridge ordering groceries for you before you even run out,
Uh,
or your fitness tracker suggesting a workout based on how well you slept and your stress levels.
Whoa, okay, that's getting a little sci-fi. But even though all those things sound amazing, are there any downsides to all this hyper-personalization?
Of course, there are always potential downsides.
Hmm.
One thing people worry about are those filter bubbles, where you're only seeing information and products that match what you already think and like.
Right.
And that could lead to a more divided society and
Mhm.
people missing out on new ideas.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's important to be aware of those filter bubbles and try to get different perspectives.
Absolutely. And another thing to think about is, we're relying more and more on these algorithms to make decisions for us. If we're not careful, we might end up just letting machines think for us, and we become more passive, less engaged in the world.
That's a really good point. We need to make sure we don't become too dependent on technology and that we're still thinking for ourselves.
Totally. It's all about finding that balance, using technology to improve our lives, but not losing our own independence and critical thinking skills.
So basically, as we're figuring out this whole tech world, we need to stay informed, ask questions, and make choices that feel right to us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think that's a really important takeaway from this deep dive. Whether you're into marketing, just a regular person online, or just curious about all this, it's super important to be aware of how powerful these micro moments are and how they're affecting us.
It's been awesome exploring all this with you. Thanks for sharing your insights.
It's been my pleasure. I always love digging into these topics.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into micro moments marketing. We hope you learned something new, had some things to think about, and maybe even feel a little inspired.
Remember, next time you pick up your phone, think about what's happening behind the scenes. You might be surprised at what you find.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.